Ladies and gentlemen, it is with the absolute almost pleasure that I welcome you to episode 2 of Vocal Void. And it is with even more pleasure and the utmost level of gratitude that I want to introduce you to a close friend of mine and one of my favorite people on Twitch. It is Rogue. Hi,
Hi,
Rogue.
yes, good morning.
Hi, Rogue. It is morning for you. It is. What,
Uh,
what time
it,
is it for you, Rogue?
it's 11:19,
Oh, it's
so it's barely morning, but it
yeah.
is morning.
You're
But
teetering the edge.
arguably,
You're teetering the
with
edge.
with with digital content, you can always say good morning and be right for someone. So, good
Listen,
morning.
I don't even think that's just digital content. I just think that's always true. It's like saying good night. It's always night somewhere.
Right.
But Rogue, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing.
You
We
doing?
had Wave's subathon yesterday, and I think I'm still recouping, even though I wasn't the one streaming for 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Weber. He did so well. I managed to catch a couple hours here or there throughout the day because I was working, but he did really well. He died afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I am sure he did. That last hour and a half was just like trying to keep him awake on stream. And I was like, oh, come on, how did I get like coffee duty where I'm just like, all right, we're gonna do this now, we're gonna do this now. And he's just like he was struggling to stay awake, and I was like, I feel so bad.
I can imagine the longest stream I managed to do was about 14 hours, and honestly, I was physically deceased by the end of it.
My longest stream has been 12 hours, and it was right when COVID started. It was like my first Saturday where we didn't have laser tag, and I was working from home, and I was like, I have absolutely nothing to do, and I can't go anywhere. I'm just gonna stream until I feel like stopping. And I streamed for 12 solid hours, and then I was like, okay, well, it's time for bed now. And then I think I slept half of the next day.
Well, yeah. To be honest, I pretty much did the same. When I did my 12-hour stream, it was the same time Miss Ramen was doing a 12-hour stream, and this was still quite early on. I think it was like it's over a year ago now, and it was the same time that we conceptualized the Daddy Chill voice that I do, and I streamed for about 14 hours. I finished up my stream. I raided Miss Ramen, who started her 12-hour stream in my last hour. I then proceeded to raid her, stay on a Discord call for about another 4 hours. Went and had 2 hours sleep, woke up and did another 8 hours of moderating for that stream for Miss Ramen. And then I slept for about a week.
Has anyone ever told you that that sounds like too much?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I was the one to tell me that. That was at a peak point where I was enjoying Twitch to its heights, but then the effects started hitting slowly but surely.
They tend to do that.
Yeah, Twitch takes its toll. But speaking of Twitch, Rogue, in your words, would you like to say how we met?
Yeah. So I was actually talking to Perfect about this last night. There's this thing that we do kind of in our Infinite Void admin channel that Chief and I did long before we had an admin channel set up, where you find somebody that you like and then you send them across and they're like, hey, this dude just hit affiliate, or this guy's almost to affiliate, or this person is really cool and I think you would enjoy their content. We'd send streamers back and forth. So it wasn't like abnormal for me to get a message at 2 or 3 a.m. saying, dude, you need to check out this streamer. And Chief and I were in our affiliate race at the time when I woke up to a text at like 3 a.m. saying, here's a Twitch link, do yourself a favor and follow it. And I was like, okay. And I think so Chief had only caught one of your streams prior to me popping in. And you were playing Genshin at the time, I believe.
Oh, the Genshin days. They take me back.
Oh, oh, the Genshin days. I'd rather not. That's a game that I haven't touched in like a year and a half.
I stopped playing that for good reason. It was such a grindy game. It was destroying my soul.
It's a grindy game, and I already have too many grindy games, so I had to stop. Like I still have it installed on my phone, but I don't think I've launched it on my phone since about the time that we met.
Honestly, when it came to Genshin Impact, it reached it reached that point where I was sick of the game. I wasn't enjoying playing it or streaming anymore. So I just completely uninstalled it. I reinstalled it 6 months later, tried to play it. I was like, absolutely not. Not for me. No, thank you, Satan. I still think it's an incredible game, an incredible concept, and it's for a
The
free
graphics are phenomenal for a
for
free game.
for a
Yeah,
free
it's
game
crazy.
is arguably one of the best in the market. But by God, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of things that take its toll, Genshin is one of those games.
Genshin really is one of those games. Every credit to everybody who can continue playing it for such a long period of time. But I interrupted you, but like once more to interrupt you, I actually remember the first time I met Chief whilst I was doing my inaugural podcast with Beta like over a year ago, and it was such an incredible focal time. We used to podcast for about 5-6 hours straight, and I just remember starting to meet the people in Beta's audience because I was still pretty small at the time. I think I'd only just reached affiliate, and all of a sudden this incline started happening, and I met so many incredible people, and Chief was one of those people in which he popped into my stream. Then he introduced me to you when you appeared in my streams.
Yeah, because I think like the second or third stream that I knew you in was another one of your beta podcasts, and that was I was working from home at the time, so I'm supposed to be at work paying attention, and I'm just like wrapped up in this podcast and just chilling and vibing, and it was all around just like a positive experience.
Yeah, I love doing those podcasts. Those podcasts, they don't mind. Again, another thing that took their toll, but this is one of those tolls that I really didn't mind because when we used to start, the podcast used to be around midnight my time because obviously I had to wait for Beta to finish work, and time zones do be a bitch.
That
And
they do.
I think one podcast we did till about it was about 7:30 in the morning for me, and I'm very glad that I was a student at the time because being a working man, I could not do that anymore.
Yeah, speaking of things on Twitch that take their toll, it's very you can clearly tell the difference between the people that put in their 8 to 5 versus those that are students versus those that are like that's what they do full time. Because
Oh,
like
oh yeah,
nothing against Weiwei, but you can totally tell that he's a student because he's constantly streaming and constantly on the air and doing all these things and he's everywhere. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I
yeah.
could do that more when I was working from home. But now that I'm back in the office 8 to 5, like a good chunk of people that I used to hang out on streams with, I haven't seen in months.
Yeah, and
And
absolutely.
I think
This is
that
like
channel growth shows that.
yeah, absolutely. And as the channel grows, it's very dependent upon how much time you have to stream because you don't see a streamer do one stream and become famous unless you were already famous. But don't mind, this is never to discredit someone like Weibo. Weibo is one of my favorite people in this absolute
Oh,
world, and by God, the man
I hang out in his
grinds.
streams all the time. I mean, that dude knows how to grind. It's
Absolutely.
just you can clearly tell the amount of time that he can invest in his content. He has a lot of time, and even like his homework study streams, or like I've tuned into some of his streams, and he's just chilling in the kitchen making an egg sandwich or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, this guy is willing to put in the time and the grind, and the results show themselves. He's got 1,500 followers for a reason. And I think on Twitch yesterday, I saw he'd passed over 1,600 during his 24-hour stream.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I clocked in like right towards the end. I think he'd reached 605. But yeah, this aspect of time is so imperative on Twitch, and this is it was one of the reasons I took a very long hiatus. Don't mind, very glad to be back. Don't forget to follow Press My Monkey on Twitch. But you know, so shameless plugs all the way. It's my channel. I can do what I want. But yeah, like the only reason I'm now ready to come back streaming is because whilst I still work a lot and I work a lot of hours in a week, I've now learned my schedule and I'm very used to my schedule and I know where my time lies and when I can commit to streaming because streaming was one of the most incredible things that happened to me, especially in adult life. I met so many incredible people, including yourself, and it's so good to now finally be able to come back and say I've got this time, but I don't need the pressure. And I'm purposely not putting that pressure on myself to get into streaming full time. I'm a stream when I want to stream, and then hopefully people are still there for when I want to.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you took your hiatus, and really, I mean, granted, I've in the last couple months, I've moved, I got a new job, like a bunch of stuff has changed in my personal life. But even after moving, it's like, look, Saturday is normally my stream day, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I don't have to stream on Saturday. I don't have to have a rigid schedule. Now, granted, I have a smaller channel. If I don't stream, I only get 1 or 2 messages asking if everything's okay, and that's fine. Like, I'm not it's
Yeah,
not end of the world if I don't stream,
yeah, and I
but,
think especially for like the on the mental health side of Twitch, having that period of time where you can be like, I could stream right now, but I'm not feeling 100% myself. And I like adding that pressure to yourself when you're not feeling yourself, but you have to stream. That's when it starts going downhill, in my opinion. That's what really happened to me. I wasn't feeling my best mentally. Lockdowns all over the world were taking their toll on everyone. And whilst I'm forever grateful for COVID to creating this time and creating this community that I have, it cut deep, and that's why I took my break.
that's understandable. You know, it is also this is totally a different note, but about the time that we were in our affiliate race, I was spending a lot of time hanging out with, my little corgi, and she was terrified that once lockdown was over, that her Twitch followers were just gonna disappear, and I remember being like, "Oh, yeah, that's not gonna happen," but I honestly can't tell you the last time I was in one of her streams because she streams when I'm at work during the day,
Yeah, in regards to my little
and
corgi, I know she moved to America. She did an incredibly big move, and she started doing loads of things. Like life's
she
changed.
has moved back, though,
Yeah, life has changed.
so
Life has changed quite dramatically for her, but she found herself a nice little niche on Twitch, and she started doing really well for the time that she could stream.
yeah. It was interesting because I was at that point in time, I was in the boat. I was like, "Oh, nothing's gonna change, you know, people are gonna still be here. That's the point of a community, yada yada yada." And then life came back, and suddenly there was a time limitation that wasn't there before, where I couldn't just wake up in the morning, turn on Twitch, and be there 24/7.
Yeah,
I had to
absolutely.
be in the office and have my boss sitting over my shoulder. So even if you were in a live stream, you couldn't like you were there, but you weren't there.
Yeah, and like it's completely understandable as well. Like, I struggled with this fear myself of like whether community is going to still be there by the time you come back. And like even in that hiatus, it highlights almost like a pseudo celebrity status because you're going into a more reclusive mode to try work on yourself, and not everybody wants to see how you are. They just kind of want to see what you're doing, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. And then you have like the flip side of it where you have and mental health is something that is constantly on my plate because I work, well, for another week at a mental health center. So like the constant daily reminders of check your mental health, everything like it's huge. But then you start to see that there's both sides of things. So like there's people that you rely on to help with your mental health. Um, and if they're gone, that also taxes your mental health. So if someone's taking a mental health break, that actually could harm somebody else with their mental health, and you're just like, "Oh,
Yeah, it's
didn't
a very
think about that."
it's,
So, like, there's this weird, awkward balance that you find,
yeah, and
and
to be quite
obviously
honest,
your own personal is more important
yeah, and to be quite
because
honest, I don't know if I even like you come to like the biggest streamers on Twitch, or like you go to your Pokemons, your XQCs, and think I don't even think they found the balance because like
I don't think so.
finding that balance between managing your own mental health whilst also trying to help with others, whilst it's a very self-rewarding thing to know that you might have helped someone in one fashion or another, especially in your community, or being this sense of a safe space. It's so weird to realize, oh, I'm helping them, but who's helping me?
Yeah, who watches the Watchmen
I
type
mean,
of deal.
yeah, but even like with these absolutely gargantuan streamers who have like 200, 300,000 people watching their every move, even when they're doing nothing at all, it's so weird. Like, because like they can take a break, and like the million people who follow them on Twitch are still going to be there because they have this status and they have this following and everywhere else. But then as a much smaller streamer like yourself and I, where we only have a couple hundred of people here or there, whilst those couple hundred people are so important to us and have helped us reach where we are today, those massive streamers don't need to worry like we do.
This is very true.
There's a
Because if they
constant
lose a
fear.
few people, like, the Twitch number doesn't change when you're dealing in the thousands.
No, but when you're counting on the individual people to know that they're there and hoping that they're okay whilst you're okay, that becomes something super hard to watch.
Yeah, Twitch is a hard balance, which I think is part of why you and I decided to delve into YouTube content about the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And YouTube content is something that I'm really enjoying the YouTube side of content creation because I think content creation is just a fantastic thing. But with YouTube, there's just this slight less pressure, and also it's you don't have to be switched on 24/7 to make YouTube content.
Yeah.
You can film clips throughout a period of time and throw them all up. But YouTube, I've been really enjoying YouTube. Like, I made a few Minecraft videos, but then it took another couple of weeks because I just need. I was working obscene shift. I've been working like 80-hour weeks for a month or so. But then very recently, I uploaded a nice little smooth talking video, which seems to have been received well. It seems.
Good, I definitely watched through all of that at work.
Good, good. This is how I trap people. I pull them onto my podcast and then make them listen to my voice for hours on end until they get a Stockholm syndrome and watch my vocal YouTube videos. The,
Ah,
the genius.
speaking of YouTube though, this is totally a random side comment. Someone mentioned in the YouTube analytics, you can see when people like pause the video and click off and everything else. And my heart dropped because I watch a lot of YouTube at work. So like I'm doing something because I can't watch streams, like because I'll constantly need to pull out my earbuds and focus on something else, then come back for 90 seconds to 5 minutes. Like I'm constantly pausing, coming back to, and then when I found out that that hurts the channel analytics, I was just outright mortified. I was like, "Oh no." And here I thought I was helping people out by getting views on their video early, but in
No.
reality, I'm hurting statistics.
Yeah, but it's a case of it may be hurting the statistics, but you're still doing what you can, and just having that view there is very important. But I think this is something that you see in like the progression of YouTube. Because if you go back like 10 years when people really started to monetize YouTube at its highest, like that pause and come back and pause and come back, that did nothing to them. And I think the way that YouTube's changed the monetization system in the last 5 years that's where it's really started to hit smaller people with that constant pausing, stopping, and the not fulfilling an entire video and just watching the first 2 minutes, which is something I'm obscenely guilty of. I can quite easily just watch a YouTube video and after 2 minutes I'll click off and go back to it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of us do. Like a lot of people do that when consuming YouTube content, but nobody really ever stops to think about the side effects because it doesn't, I mean, as far as you know, it doesn't do anything. And then you find out later that it does, and it's like, "Oh, whoops."
Yeah, but
But
again,
most people would never even know.
no, and to be honest, I didn't have a full scope of it until you just explained it a bit more then, because I look at my analytics on YouTube scarcely. I'm producing content that I enjoy, and whether one person watches it or 1 million people watches it, I'm just still enjoying it. So I'm trying not to focus too much on the analytical side of YouTube because their analytics are so in depth.
Yeah, the YouTube analytics can be crazy scary as far as details go.
Yeah, like
And actually, I think it was Grian mentioned the other day that he made a comment about the time lapses, and I had to stop and go back because apparently the majority of people skip Grian's building time lapses when in his episodes,
that's
and that blew my head. That like it blew my mind because
that's what I focus on.
right, I come to these Minecraft channels for the time lapses, like especially as a creator and as somebody that does a lot of time lapses. Like to me, that was always important to have in a Minecraft episode. Now, granted, I uploaded like 3 or 4 of them and took a 3-month break.
But I'm the exact same. Like you look at my first 5 or so episodes of on the Dragonfell server, There's like I've got multiple time lapses, multiple cinematics in every single video because they're what I enjoy watching in other people's YouTube videos of Minecraft or like in other forms of Minecraft. So that's what I try to focus on because I want to try emulate that. Because on one hand, I really enjoy making them, but I really enjoy watching just some nice lo-fi music and seeing something amazing be created. And I think the Hermitcraft group are absolute connoisseurs of this at the finest across them all. Like don't run great like people like Green, Scar, B Dubs. Their building capabilities are far surpass the average individual. But even people who just like focus on much smaller projects within Hermitcraft, they create such beautiful things out of something so small, and it's something I enjoy so much.
Yeah, Ren Dog's episode this week had his time lapse. He always gets like super creative with the cameras, which is honestly why, because I watched that Friday. So I got home Friday night, and the last thing I did before I went to bed was install Replay Mod on my machine and then set up my camera account with it for the subathon on Saturday because I knew that I was going to be getting in about 10 a.m. for that subathon.
Yeah,
And just watching Rendog do his time lapses with such skill, like the panning, the rotating, the like I think at one point he has a bubble vader in his build and the camera like it goes up the bubble vader but is rotating around
see, I
as like
I
creepers
cannot
and stuff
figure.
fly past it.
I just can't
And
figure
it's
out
like,
replay mod.
dude, that's an art. That is
Yeah,
an art. This guy is spending so after the subathon was over, I spent probably 4.5 hours out of a 4-hour stream editing up a 7-minute video
yeah,
that
but
I uploaded
but
last
I
night.
but I've seen it and it looks really fucking good.
And that's I mean, that's less than I mean, that's my first day with the software. So there's a lot of room for improvement. It's very janky.
See, you're going to have to teach me how to use the replay mod because I could not figure out. I spent hours trying to figure out. I was like, I just don't get it. Things are everywhere. Because I'm really proud of the cinematics that I've created in my Minecraft videos, but that is all just from static movement
Your
on a.
cinematics are insane, dude, though. Like every time I'd be working on one of my episodes, I'd stop, go back and watch one of yours just to kind of see what you did to kind of emulate some of that because yours are always so much better than mine.
See, I don't think they're. I appreciate the compliment, but I don't necessarily think they're better. But I just I need to I these my issue with my time lapses is whilst I really enjoy doing them and my cinematics, they take me such a long time. Like one day I will show you that I will record and I'll show you the outtakes because I don't use things like the replay mod. This is all my camera account using cinematic mode on Minecraft, moving hands across the Minecraft world at 150 ping and there's so many outtakes where it just stops for a second or it jumps for a second or something doesn't load and I'm like, oh fuck. But I really enjoy making them, which is why I do want to learn how to use the replay mod. You're gonna have to teach me, Rogue.
I got you. We'll sit down and do a session. Like I said, I've got maybe 5 hours in the software. I'm not an expert of it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's 5 hours
but
more
I
than
mean,
me.
some of that comes back to I mean, why I started making content in the first place. I mean, I got started with Machinima, and unfortunately, none of that content survived because I had a laptop hard drive that just died and I lost it all. But like, I got started doing Machinima stuff in Halo Reach.
See, I remember the days of Machinima. That is, it wasn't too long after I started getting involved in YouTube. I wasn't creating content at the time, but it was a very big source of inspiration because Machinima was such a large group with so many varieties of creators, and that's what started like focusing me more towards the online side of entertainment and content creation but basically between Machinima, the Syndicate project, and the Yogscast. They were the three things that got me delved into YouTube full fledged.
We share the two of the three of our initial YouTube content creation. I had Syndicate for Minecraft. Like that's he was the first like big channel outside of Achievement Hunter that I watched. Of course, Achievement Hunter because I got started with Red versus Blue. It was one of the first YouTube channels I actually subscribed to. and that's because I liked the art form, and for me, as somebody that wanted to create content but had no technology and no budget, the fact that I could go borrow my friend's Xbox, mess around for a little bit, and have some sort of content out of it that actually looked decent, like, that's what got me going, and then getting into, like, the achievement hunter stuff with, um, Let's Plays and the variety of content that they did, that's kinda what pushed me to start making like, look, if these guys can mess around in video games and get paid, there's a chance for me because they suck at video games, man.
See, this prospect of being really bad at video games was it was a fun one for me. One of my very first channels that is hidden away in the very depths of YouTube was just me playing games badly, but focusing on playing games badly because I've never been that good at games. There's certain games that I'm pretty good at, like Minecraft. I like to think I'm quite good at building and things like that, but that took years, man. That took absolute years. Like my general just like aptitude for games is god awful. And
Oh, that makes 2 of us.
but it was like with one of my inspirations, the Yogscast. This is one of the reasons I enjoyed them because there was a few select members who were very, very good at Minecraft, but the rest of them were just comic relief. They were so bad at the game, and that comedy in a beautiful video is something that really got me focused on content creation, and it's something I want to push forward, like in finding the beauty of Minecraft. Because Minecraft's a very beautiful game. It's just people struggle to see it more than just the blocks that it is. I really want to like up my game on cinematics. I have an idea currently, but I'm working on something big, something really big. So yeah, like, but stay on the topic of Minecraft Rogue. Like you're very akin to myself. You spent so much time playing Minecraft since very early into its inception of a game. What actually about it about the game Minecraft is it that you love and enjoy?
So, I didn't start playing video games till very late in my youth, because I never had a console at home. The only video game experience I had was at friends' houses, so every once in a while, I get to play the original Halo or, something on, like, the Super Nintendo. I mean, I very fond memories of playing GoldenEye back in the day, um, but, like, I never had a game of my own, and mid-high school, so, like, 2009, 2010, I bought myself a laptop to do papers on, and I ended up about the time that was about the time that Roblox was launching and, like, becoming a thing, so I played a lot of Roblox in its early inception, and that's about the time that Minecraft came out for the Xbox 360, and this is the first time I'd ever heard of the game. Right, so I've been playing Roblox with some of my friends. We're just trying to like we're creating things, we're going in and building all these cool bases, but you had to like it was very rudimentary and crude at the time. So you're going in and editing coordinates and opacities and all these it was almost like minor coding to get stuff to work back in at that time. And one of my friends is like, "Hey, I got this game for my Xbox. It's split screen multiplayer, and he was one of the people I go over and play Halo at his house. So I was like, okay, let's try it out. And the survival aspect mixed with the I can do whatever I want and I can do it with my friends, that's the part that I really like dug into. It was like, oh my god, I love this. Found out that we need an HDMI cable, so we all pooled our lunch money together, bought an HDMI cable to do the split screen capability, and we sunk hundreds of hours into the original Xbox 360 Minecraft. And then I found out that there was a PC version that was allegedly better with no world borders, and I bought that, dove into it, and I mean, my problem was I was like I spent a lot of time in Minecraft, a lot, a lot, a lot. I hate playing Minecraft by myself. Minecraft for me is a multiplayer experience, which is part of why I have the Dragonfell SMP, because Minecraft with friends is almost inherently better.
Oh, absolutely. Like getting your friends involved in Minecraft is just like I've always been able to enjoy Minecraft on my own. I played many like survival worlds in both normal and modded Minecraft. I think modded Minecraft's a lot easy to do on your own, but because it just has so much more to do. I think base Minecraft just even if it's just one friend, two friends, or three friends, getting a collective of people that you enjoy and you enjoy spending time with, and then taking it into a game that is so beautiful in its simplicity. It just elevates it to another level.
It really does. My first Minecraft server was about a year after I started playing the game. I had a desktop and a laptop. So I downloaded the jar files and set up a Minecraft server on my desktop and then would play on my laptop. And I had one or two friends that would log in. And just the excitement of getting off of work, coming home, and logging in to see what everybody else was up to, that in itself was enough to keep me going, keep me playing. I think we had that server for about a year, and then I shut it down because my desktop was struggling from running 24/7. Um, and that's about the time that Minecraft introduced realms. So I had some realms off and on for several years. But I mean, let's put it this way: some of the first people I started playing Minecraft with on PC were X and Twilith, and if you've seen Twilith's base on the Dragonfell server, she's always built like that.
See, I have. She's incredible. She
Um, yeah, she's always been able to build like that. And X is a grinder. He like that's what he enjoys. His one of the server reboots we did, within 10 minutes of being on the server, the dude had a stack of diamonds. I mean,
Jeez.
he set out and just be like, "This is what I'm gonna get," and boom, and that's all he'll focus on. He just grinds out a metric ton of materials.
See,
And since
I
I
don't
mean, they were
grind out
dating
like
at the
that.
time, but they're married now. So, you put those 2 together in one area, and you come on the next day, and all of a sudden there's, like, massive skyscrapers and boats that are 400 blocks long with a full villager crew, and it's like, "Dude, I was at work for 6 hours. What happened?"
Yeah, see, like when it came to like in very briefly my introduction to Minecraft, I've been playing since beta. I stuck it out all the way through, and I've never actually taken a break from Minecraft. I take like a week or two, but that's mainly because I'm busy or I'm really engrossed in the story of another game. But then, like, I was slowly starting to wear out a little bit on Minecraft. Like, I played on plenty of servers, but like honestly, the invitation to join the Dragonfell SMP is what kind of like really kickstarted me back in gear again. Because I started playing Minecraft once it first properly started getting going. I decided to play in creative mode, and that's where my love for building comes. I like to think I'm not an amazing builder, but I like to think I'm quite a good builder when I set myself to it. And the grind of Minecraft for me, whilst it takes it a lot out of a lot of people, I enjoy grinding in Minecraft if I know I'm going to do something with it. I don't find the enjoyment in having the achievement of, oh, I have another eye beacon. Like, nah, I made something beautiful. That's what I enjoy.
That's maybe one of the things that I enjoy about Minecraft the most is there are dozens of different types of Minecraft players, and you don't have to be one of them to enjoy the game. Like, there are grinders, there are builders, there are redstoners. Everyone has something different that they enjoy about the game. And when you put that together on a server, you have these massive projects that come out of nowhere. Like, I am not a good builder at all. I can look at a picture and try to emulate it, but I mean, I enjoy helping people build things. And maybe that's part of where my involvement in something like Dragonfell works out to everyone's benefit, because I can be like, "Oh, you need that? Let me go get it. Oh, you need this? I think so and so has it. Let me go do some trading with them and get those materials for you."
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that's greatly appreciated. Like, you've got all the stone for the building that I'm doing currently. And like that's why we're working together a lot more during the season. Because I build on a very grandiose scale. Even when I say I'm not meaning to, all I'm currently building is a gate, which is the entrance to something 100 times bigger than what I'm making. And have you seen the scale of it?
I sure have. I went by there the other day. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that explains where all the stone went. I
Yeah,
guess I'll have to AFK some more later."
it's enormous. And one don't get me wrong, I'm terrible for getting down building some stuff, then I accidentally take a week break without realizing I've done it. But in those concentrated few hours, I get so much done. And I don't even really look at reference photos. I very much just kind of picture it and do it. And I think my love for building in Minecraft, it came from there was a very do you know who Fire are? Fire UK, the building team?
I've heard of them. I'm not familiar.
They were in a much more earlier version of Minecraft. They were very, very big, and they were even hired by Mojang themselves to build so many incredible things like Minecon worlds and Minecraft event worlds. But they got started as a team building absolutely incredible things. And an offshoot of Fire UK, and Fire UK started slowing down, became a group called Mithrintia. And Mithrintia were they were still doing like building time lapses and making incredible things, but they had a server which was dedicated to making people better at building. And I slowly just worked my way through there. I put in hours and hours. I think I was in college at this time, and I honestly I must have had like pushing upwards of like 500 hours on that server, because I just you start with like the most basic building, you try to climb through the ranks, because you've got to be able to build to a certain degree to fulfill the rank that they need. And honestly, at the time, it was a dream to make it to their build team. Never made it to their build team. I was not good enough, but I really enjoyed that building. It really just created this very creative drive in me, and I think that's very heavily influenced in my style of building even today. And they are the people who taught me how to put detail into builds and adding depth into a build. Because if you don't put depth in your build, put depth in your build. Depth is a core aspect of making Minecraft builds beautiful. Absolute core
Something that I
aspect.
always struggle with. Most of my stuff has always looked flat. Like if you look at my season 0 or even my season 1 base, everything was flat. And I'm fighting that with my current mega build on Dragonfell. I don't know if you've been up to the top northeast corner, but you were on your hiatus, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go do something different. I'm gonna challenge myself. So I started building a super sci-fi tech looking pyramid structure in the northeast corner, right on the world border.
See, I have seen parts of it. I've not seen all of it. I've seen parts of it. But it's looking very cool. In my experience of building with you throughout like the year or so that we've been doing it, you have a very good eye for like color variation, and you create such like very visually appealing buildings. Whereas I do grandiose scale and put like minute little details in that look like nothing until you're really close.
Well, that's why we're tag team building a mega base this season.
This is true, and I promise to get off my ass and get more into it. I'm slowly getting there. It just takes a while. It takes a
No
while. It's
worries.
so big.
We all need a break, and I took a big break when I moved a couple weeks ago, and I'm still trying to get back into the rhythm of getting moved and getting back into content creation. Because I mean, let's be real. After you move, you just don't want to do anything else for a while.
But that is very true. But that also reminds, how was the move, Rogue? Like you've gone from a very familiar place where you were living with friends for a very long period of time. People like you and like Hookah for periods of time, and whoever was living with you. And now you're living with a partner, which is a very big move. Like the lovely perfect, who's honestly such a gem of a human being. And it's a great pleasure to know her. How was that like translation happened for you, and how have you been finding this transition?
It's been good. The move itself happened in a little under a week. The housing. I think you and I talked about this the other day. The housing market in the U.S. is absolutely whack right now. Less than 24 hours after a listing and the place is gone. Apartments, houses, everything. You have usually less than 12-hour window to make a move, and it's gone. It's off the market. So Q and I had mentioned that we were interested in parting ways. He had a partner that he wanted to move in with. They wanted animals. I'm heavily allergic to animals. I had a partner that I wanted to move in with. So we were at the end of the lease. So I had a target window. And during the last month, actually, it was about a month and a half away from our move out date, I get a phone call during the day. Hey, I found this place. It's great. We just went and looked at it. I want to talk to the guys. All right, do it. And within 24 hours, we had keys and had started moving stuff in. And that same exact week, Q came down with COVID. So the apartment that I was living in was suddenly a quarantine zone. So here I was crashing on a mattress on the floor at the new place with most of my stuff locked up in quarantine, not even 3 miles away. So like the actual move itself, once we finally got in to move stuff out, it happened relatively quickly. We'd been preparing to move for a while, but I mean, I won't lie, I've now moved my desk 2 or 3 times, rewired all my tech a couple times. I have a basement studio now instead of sharing a studio with Perfect, which has actually been great for both of us. She hit affiliate this last week. I don't know if you heard that yet.
I did, and I'm pretty sure I passed along my congratulations and gave her shout outs in many places when I was there.
Perfect. Yeah, that was once we got her all set up. I said, "Look, now that you don't have to worry about sharing a space with me and working with recordings and everything else, jump on it." So she spent like a solid week streaming, hit her affiliate. She's now at 59 followers, I think, one
Nice.
away from 60. Um, and Timmy, shout out to Timmy, dropped in on her first affiliate stream and gifted 5 subs to her community without even subbing himself.
See, this is something I'm really bad at. I forget that I'm not sub to people. I'll go gift like 2 or 3 subs just to, like show support, and then like, why am I watching an advert?
Right. Oh, that happened during Weiwei's subathon yesterday. I was in his chat just so I could see because we had prox chat, and every once in a while he'd just wander away to go talk to chat, and I couldn't hear him, so I'd then go turn on his stream, and I was watching an ad, and I was like, "Now hold on a minute." So I resub, and it was like, "Hey, you've subbed 16 months in a row," and I'm like, "Okay, so the auto sub worked for 15 months, and now why am I watching an ad? What's going on?"
Twitch is a glitchy place, man. It's a glitchy place.
Yeah, but we love it. It's home for a reason.
And it is very much home. But yeah, no, the move has been such an incredible thing for you. Like, how are you finding it now, transitioning to living with a partner rather than living with friends?
Um, so it's not that much different, I'll be honest, with the exception of instead of saying like screw you guys, I'm gonna go lock myself in my room, I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go down to my office and I'll be online. If you need me, shoot me a text message. Like there's minor differences, but for me it's not a massive difference.
That's very fair.
Coordinating meal times, but Perfect is wonderfully independent as a person, so she doesn't need me attached to the hip at all times. So, I mean,
That's
it's not a lot different.
That's very fair, and I'm really glad to hear that. 'Cause I know it was a big move for you both in making that transition, but it seems to be working so well. And Perfect's just such an incredible. Obviously, you know her a lot better than I do, but in the limited experience I have with Perfect, she's just such a delight to be around. She's so happy. she's
Yeah, she's great.
and you landed a good one, Rogue. You landed a good. Don't let her go. Don't let go, Rogue.
I don't plan on it. I don't plan on it.
Yeah, it's such a big move, and now you're actually you're moving career paths as well. This is a very transitional point in your life for you, and like that transition, because there's been a lot of big transitions over the last few years, and well, over the last year or so that we've known each other. I know something that was very integral as part of your life is something that's transitioning as well, and that is a laser tag with your family, and like what where this like laser tag aspect of it was in your life, and now unfortunately it's in a new transitional period. Do you know anything about it going forward?
I know that right now that we're 100% mobile. So our physical location closed down mid-February. We got the phone call that, well, the letter that basically said, "Hey, you have 2 weeks to vacate the premise because we were going different directions." And I dropped everything and spent 2 weeks with like Hookah and a couple other people, just Shadow, just packing everything up, moving it out. My parents' house looks like a war zone because we had all of our furniture and everything else just got shoved into their garage. Um, and mobile so far has been good. The previously, mobile had to balance with do are we going to have staff to man our physical location while we send a team down to Texas, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, wherever. And now they just say, okay, we're just going to up and go. So it's been a lot easier to schedule mobile events, and at least in the States, things are starting to open back up. So our mobile team has actually been relatively busy. Um, there was about a 2-week period where we were in 4 or 5 states.
Nice. But it's one of those,
I
like,
know.
as someone from an outside perspective, I know like the toll it had the potential to take with it being shut down from its physical location. So it is really nice to see that it's doing well. And I know that when you were doing laser tag, I remember that you actually got me involved to do a voice for it. I never actually know if that got played anywhere, but I remember doing a voice recording for you. But I know you've
That
been
was on me. I failed to get it produced in time. I got it finished about a week after the event actually ended, and I was like, "Well,
shit.
yeah."
It's all good though, but I had great fun doing that. But I know you've always been like very well. I mean, in my experience with you, you've always been quite technically inclined. Did that come from like anywhere in specifics? I know you applied it quite heavily in laser tag, and I know like you were doing some of the streaming aspects to record laser tag. Is there like a reason that you find yourself quite technically inclined and enjoy technical aspects of things, or is it just one of them?
Were you in the stream where I had my dad as a guest?
I was there for a good bit of it.
Yeah, so I am a lot like my father. He is very creative and very technical. He was in high school in the mid '80s, and when he didn't get invited to any of the school dances, his solution was to become the DJ so that he would run the dances. So he built a lot of his own audio equipment, built his own custom flash pots, lighting equipment, everything just out of what he could get his hands on at Radio Shack and other places. And he's been a DJ since as long as, or basically since then, all the way through the '80s and '90s. Um, I mean, this guy, he's had a varying array of careers throughout my life. Just whatever he needed to do to support the family. I mean, he worked at a bank right about the time I was born, but then he worked at a rock quarry. Then he did pawns, and then was doing audio visual, and now he's in laser tag and self defense training. But he's always been able to just pick up and go with whatever he needs to, and then put whatever weird collection of knowledge he has to his advantage in that field.
It's a very impressive talent. Like I remember seeing your father. Your father seems like a beautifully eclectic man, and I mean that in the highest form of in like compliment. Like he doesn't seem eclectic. Like he's no idea where he is, but like his thought process just seemed beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and he still I'm a lot like him, but I'm not as good at as him in applying my brain in the ways that he can apply his brain. But he'll take like his audiovisual DJ history and apply it about everywhere. And recently, so we started doing with laser tag. It was more of like a tactical laser tag, so more like stepping into Call of Duty or Halo than your traditional laser tag where you just go into a glow in the dark room and play Darude Sandstorm on repeat. I mean, this is more like stepping into Warzone or a game like Apex where it's more intense. It's you need to reload, focus on that. We had scopes and everything, and we created a living, breathing environment that was constantly changing. And I spent a lot of time with that doing like battle passes and coming up with custom skins for the guns. When L visited this last year, when we had all the IV crew out in person to hang out,
Minus me.
I had custom skins with like Twitch avatars and everything else on all the guns when everyone was playing. Like
You see,
just being able to look at and chain and say, look, video games are successful. This is what we're doing for entertainment. And who's our competitor? Well, video games that people can play whenever they want. And people are going to make that comparison regardless of whether you want it or not. So let's go ahead and embrace it, and let's take and mold and edit what we're doing and make it more like a video game. Which all the forums that we're in were telling us, you guys are stupid. Like it's laser tag. It's nothing like a video game. And then we won a national award for most unique and distinct arena, and everyone kind of was like, "Wait, what?"
it's always nice to just like put in. It's like, yep, we did that. Back down.
Yep. Yep. And I had you do that recording for one of our events that we were doing. But it was a very short-lived event, and I, with work and then the laser tag schedule and streaming at the time, I got overwhelmed and never got around to it. And that's one of the things, I'm getting used to having more time on my hands, which is very dangerous. Um, Even with moving to my new job, I'm gonna have an extra 2.5 hours in my day, and I'm already scared at how I'm gonna use it.
You just got to find a way to fulfill that time, be it take to that 2.5 hours a day, make a few YouTube videos. Like streaming's one of you could stream, but it's like for the average length of a stream being around 4 hours, it's quite a compact amount of time. But that's the 2.5 hours you could dedicate yourself to become the creative visionary that you can be.
Yeah, we'll see how it gets used for sure.
Led in bed drinking Monster and seeing what the world happens, watching Star Wars.
Hey now, hey now.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I've done that many times.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
But again, there's nothing wrong with that, especially with Star Wars, because bro, I remember finding your Facebook and finding an old profile picture of yours. Where you were a very
Uh,
convincing Jedi, and it was
I,
something I enjoyed finding. Do you? I know you're a very big fan of Star Wars, and many people do, but some people don't. But is it just like, is it Star Wars that you're in love with, or is it like space as a whole? Like, what's the jig?
um, Star Wars is my favorite sci-fi franchise. I
Understandable.
do enjoy a handful of different like sci-fi space franchises. As a kid, everyone asked the little kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be a firefighter or a policeman," and I was dead set I was going to be an astronaut. And then I discovered that I had a fear of heights and I hate flying, so obviously that went nowhere. Um, but Star Wars was one of the few like franchises I was introduced to as a kid, so that's what I grew up with. That's what my history was with. I learned about Star Trek in like late middle school, early high school, and it just didn't scratch that itch for me. Like it's good, don't get me wrong. Next Generation and even some of the new reboots aren't bad. It's just it doesn't scratch that sci-fi adventure itch for me.
Yeah, and I think with
I
Star Wars being so intrinsically linked in the childhood of so many people, that initial 6 films just just gives you that nice warm hug feeling.
and like Phantom or not Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones just celebrated its 20th anniversary this year, which makes me feel old because I remember seeing that one in theaters. I only saw two in theaters: Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. We're not talking about the sequel trilogy,
Yeah,
but like that was
it's
a
just easier
huge
not to
part of
talk
my.
about them.
Yeah, we don't talk about those. But I mean, that was a huge part of my childhood was seeing those movies in theaters, the original Clone Wars.
Like, but
That's even like the number in my name is linked to Star Wars, believe it or not. A handful of
feel
my
free to
friends and
elaborate.
I, yeah, so a handful of my friends and I were diehard Clone Wars fans way back in the day when they first introduced what the Clone Troopers looked like. And there were the comic books with all the different like special colored ones, and then Republic Commando came out, and we were all like would get together and lightsaber fight and stuff out in the backwoods. And we decided that the Clone Commandos were like the new latest greatest thing. That's what we wanted to be. And we were the 700th unit, the 3rd battalion. Then I was unit 3 and I had it, so there's actually a 731, a 732, a 734 and a 735 out there. They
I,
were all part of my original friend group.
I've known you for
Um,
over a year, like pushing 2 years, and I've never known this rogue. I've never known this
Yep.
once.
So my OG handle was Bioman from Bionicles way back in the day, and with that group, that's where that number got locked in. So I mean, even if you ask Elle, my original gamer tag when she and I met was Bioman733. And when I started getting like into different games on Twitch, I discovered that Bio, which is what everyone called me, was slang for bathroom break, and decided that it was time for a rebrand. Because
That is
that's
fair. You don't want to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen stranger online online handles then bathroom
Uh,
break.
we all have, but that's what it was like. Everyone, no one said Bio Man. Everyone was just like, "Hi, it's Bio," and it's like, "Yeah." And then you'd see Bio in chat, Bio. It's like, what? Why is everyone saying my name? Yes, hello. Like, no, I'm gonna go take a dump. Oh,
Oh dear, oh
oh,
dear.
uh, yeah, it's time for a rebrand.
Yeah, but I think like online personas are a very weird thing because I know you very well and I know a lot about your life and I know like your real name and your family's names and things like. I still call you Rogue, and you still call me like you again. You know all this
Oh
information
yeah,
about me. You call me Prof, and like usually like when you're at a level of like friendship like in real life with people that you can see every single day, like there's nicknames and stuff, but we've always just stuck to online handles. There's so few people online who actually just call me Declan. Like people like Memory Lane, NHan, and a few other people do it, but then everyone like I get so confused when I just randomly see Prof somewhere. I'm like, oh, who's that?
what?
And now it's turned around that if somebody says Declan or Deck in a chat somewhere in a stream or in a game, like, pardon, are you talking to me?
Yeah, I mean, I I called my sister by her handle the other day at family dinner, and my mom just looked at me like I was crazy. And now, granted, this is a while back. She's gotten used to it now because her friends call her that too. Because there are several people in her class that have the same first name, I guess. So she goes by her handle at school, and it's been interesting. Like as my family has two streamers in it, and a third that hangs out in streams but doesn't really participate that much because she's super busy. But we all have used gamer tags like as a normal name replacement for so long that even like my dad knows Chief personally. Chief worked for my dad for a little bit. I mean, he's been over to multiple family dinners, cookouts, whatever, and he still calls him Chief, even though he knows his full name and has spent a lot of time with him in person. In fact, I think they've even done a road trip together, but he still calls him Chief
Yeah,
instead of
this is the weird thing. So
his full name.
I'm planning on going traveling next year, and I'm going to be in the US for about a month's time, in which I will be spending some time around like you guys in real life. If one of you called me by my name, I'd be so thrown out. I'd be so
Right.
confused because the like I've like a few of my much closer friends who like they get involved in my streams and stuff like that, but they knew me before I was Prof to everybody, so they still call me by my real name. But I have this vision of going to like Malaysia or going to America or traveling throughout Europe and seeing people that I've met through Twitch. And if any of them called me by my first name, I'd be so confused.
It's interesting. You have certain gamer tags that have like some semblance of a person's name in it, like L or JT or even Q, who like that's what they went by previously to their gamer tag. So it just works to say like JT Beast 27 is just JT, but that was what I met him as before I even knew what his gamer tag was. I worked with him for several months before I found out he gamed, and I've always just called him JT, 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 JT. And then you find out about the gamer tag, it's like, okay, well, nothing changes.
Whereas
Or
you
like
get
L Buckets of Love. I mean, you just call her L, and then you find out her name's Ella, and L is just short for that, and that just works.
but then you get myself and yourself and like we could not be further away. Like I know your name, you know my name. Rogue is nowhere, not even it could not be further away from your name. And Professor Mad Monkey just there is no semblance of Declan there, none at all. But even with that transition, like even if someone was to call me Professor Mad Monkey, like if I'd known them for a little period of time, that would be weird to me because everybody knows me as Prof.
Yeah.
And don't mind, a lot easier. It's a lot shorter and it's a lot easier to say rather than every time you Professor Mad Monkey, Professor Mad Monkey, Professor Mad Monkey, or Professor Mad Monkey underscore. Never forget the underscore.
Never forget the underscore.
If someone was to do that to me, like say I like flown to America and met you guys for the first time in real life, and you turn around to me instead of either my actual name or you said Professor Mad Monkey rather than just saying Yo Prof, what's up, that would throw me out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. At least, I mean, my gamer tag's short, so it's easy. Like rogue is rogue. It's a single syllable.
Yeah,
But
to shorten it, everyone will be going around calling you just
er,
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 er.
yeah, that doesn't shorten up so well.
No, but yeah, it's so weird to adventure like how people's names are forwarded like that, and how you become this online persona, and it's really interesting to see and really interesting to look at.
Yeah, coming up with, because I mean, like, especially as you look at how people create their online persona, I've had some sort of online persona for like 10, 15 years. Actually, coming up on closer to 20 years. Because I still remember having to create my original Bioman login for Lego.com way back in the days. But then, like, perfect. Last year when we sat down, we're like, okay, let's make you a Twitch account. Actually, coming up with a handle for her because she'd never had one that she used outside of just her name. And it's like, you're 20 something years old and have never picked out like a handle to use. Like, that almost broke my brain for a little bit.
But this
And we
is
had to
only
go through
weird
the
to us as
process of,
gamers.
right. I mean, it's just something that we've always had, we've always used. And even if it's changed or morphed over the years, like just having that other identity that you can bind to and say, oh, that's whatever. And, I know some therapists that would say that's a mental health issue when you can just
We
create a separate identity.
we don't talk about the therapy, Rogue.
Right. I know. Sorry. I'll apologize to my therapist later. But, like sitting down and actually going through that process with somebody else,
It's so weird.
it's weird. It's like, well, I mean, you're creating a part of your identity, and the perfect shot was not the first option. That's something that we eventually landed on, but that's not what it was originally. And I've forgotten what it was, but the perfect shot was not the original gamer tag that she picked. But like you said, nobody uses the full gamer tag. When nobody goes around saying
Yeah.
Professor Mad Monkey, they find something short and they run with it. I mean, everyone on the server just calls her perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with Perfect, like don't mind, like with what I know about Perfect, she's a very keen and great photographer, so it makes sense. But I was so confused the day that I checked Facebook Crest and saw her there, because it hadn't clicked to me. I'd never thought to what's Perfect's name, and then she popped up adding me on Facebook, which, like, if you don't know me too well, don't add me on Facebook, please. But obviously she is intrinsically linked with you, so obviously, and our friendships, I have no issues with it. But I was so confused. I was like, who's this person? And it was only if I click on the profile, see you next to her. I was like, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then that unlocked the world of finding all. Cause I'd never really searched people on Facebook. It's just I don't even really like Facebook, to be quite honest. But then I saw you, and then I found you all, and I saw all your embarrassing photos from 10 years ago. It was fantastic.
Oh, I'm an awkward person, and I'm a very much different person now than I even was 5, 10 years ago. Working in like the service industry has changed my personality and who I am as a person so much. Um, it Nobody from high school likes me. Let's just be real. I'm not in touch with anybody from high school. Almost my entire friend group, minus a handful of people that I knew from like being 2 or 3, all of those people are gone because I was that dork geek person that nobody could stand. Like I was the stereotypical nerd,
Oh, dude,
and I
I
was
was the
still trying
same.
to figure out who I was as a person. And now that I've kind of figured that out and molded and shaped my identity, I'd like to think that I'm a totally different person, which is part of why I don't use Facebook that much, because a lot of the people that I have on Facebook are people that if I posted something, they're never going to see it because they've all got me blocked on their end. They just have me as a friend because they might need something from me in the future.
Yeah, and it's something that I really don't like Facebook. I don't even like Facebook because of social media. I just think it's so corrupt and fucked. But I use it for the predominantly. I use it to know when someone's birthday is, or I use it because my family members aren't so technically inclined, and Facebook's their only port of call because they got it, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the biggest reason I hadn't shut my Facebook down previously is because it was tied to the family's business account. I mean, like, I rarely post,
I did. I'm the same.
but
Like
now that the
twice a
business
year.
account is kinda it's we're not open weekly, so I don't need to monitor as much. I am rarely on Facebook. I get notifications when Perfect posts something, and I go on and I like it, and then I log back off.
Very fair. The commitment's still there though. She can be grateful for that.
That's a lie. I also log in to look at the local scanner page to see why the sirens are going off.
Let's see. Where I live's quite tight. It's like quite a tight knit community. If sirens are going off, everybody already knows.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of people, but we're all spread out
That's fair.
because I live in Kansas and everything is flat and there's not a lot of like even like the tallest apartment buildings are only like maybe 3 floors.
That's fair. Like we go up like 60 or 70.
Right. So like even though we have a small population, it's spread out. So if something's going on in like the north part of town, you'll have no idea in the southern part of town unless you go look it up.
Summon the owls. They will bring the news.
Basically.
Ah, but it is with that I'm gonna slow the draw to a conclusion. And thank you so much for talking to me for the last hour or so, Rogue.
Thanks for having me.
It's
It definitely did not feel like an hour.
It didn't. It has gone incredibly. It has gone very very quickly, and I'm very glad that you took the time to sit down to me. And you like I've known you for nearly 2 years, and I've just found out new things about you.
Surprise.
Surprise! But yeah, this has been fun, and this has been fun, and I will definitely have you back on for another podcast in the future, or maybe have you as a co-host. Who knows? You can be my analytical assistant and ask the questions when I go off topic.
I could be the snarky co-host that just sits in the back and snarks from time to time.
I was gonna make some form of allusion to that, but I really don't watch talk shows. They're a very American thing.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
Don't worry, I don't watch them either.
that's fine. We can keep our friendship, Rogue. Rogue, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being the second guest on Vocal Void. It's been my absolute and utmost pleasure.
Thank you for having me. And we'll have to get to putting some more episodes together soon.
We absolutely will, and there will be a one out rough probably like a week or two after this one. But thank you so much, Rogue. This was episode 2 of Vocal Void. My name is Professor Ben Monkey. I'll catch you all soon. Boy, peace.